Yeah, okay. So again, it looks like it is just 12 o'clock noon, and I think we have a lot of material today.
Yeah,
So
just ready to mute it.
yeah, we're gonna begin the presentation. I'm Lisa Krause from Greyhound Options, and I'd like to welcome you all today to our second Learn and Greet. This will be about Greyhound Amber Alert. I do have a couple of housekeeping announcements. So first, we would ask if people coming in would kindly keep your videos and microphones turned off. The other thing you may have noticed when you came in, we are recording this presentation so we can share it with others who weren't able to attend today. We do have Sarah Brandt here as our host, who's helping us with all the Zoom and technical functions. And then just like to let you know that we're really happy to be able to present these Learn and Greets free of charge. But if anyone's interested in supporting our mission and our activities, you're always welcome to make a donation. And we made it easy to do right on our website. There's a donate button, so you can click on greyhoundoptions.org if you're so inclined. So before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to just review the format for today's meeting. So initially, our presenter is going to speak for about 45 minutes. So you're all welcome, if you have questions, to enter them in the chat box, which you'll probably find at the bottom of your screen. If we think it would clarify something that's the speaker's speaking about, one of the hosts will ask the question. Otherwise, we're going to wait till the end of the presentation where we have allotted some time for Q&A. Following the presentation, you'll have an opportunity to join a breakout room. So one will be hosted by the speaker. So it will be like a continuation, and you'll be able to unmute yourself and ask questions of the speaker. The other breakout room will be more social, and we'll tell you about how to enter that at the end of the presentation. So at this point, I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, Jennifer Saker from Greyhound Amber Alert. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And that should now allow Jen, if you'd like to share your screen, you can pull up your presentation, and appreciate it if you tell us a little bit about yourself and Greyhound Amber Alert.
Sure. I think I've shared it properly. If you can see it okay, Lisa?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Thank you to Lisa and to everyone from Greyhound Options. I'm Jen, and I'm really excited that they've asked me here to present this information to everyone. It's something that we all feel like is very important for any Greyhound owner. So just a little bit about me before I get started. I have been involved with Greyhounds for 20 years. I adopted my first Greyhound in 2002, Quiet Man, which many of you might know and remember. And I've had 6 Greyhounds over the years. Currently, I have Theo, who we just adopted from Greyhound Options, and we love him, and he's asleep on the couch right now. So all of my dogs are my inspiration for wanting to help out with lost dogs. So just a little bit about why I became involved with Greyhound Amber Alert. My first adoption group, where I got Quiet Man from 20 years ago, had reported a lost Greyhound, and it was a little brindle girl named Abby. They sent out an email blast to everyone. I had time to help, and I said, oh, what better way to help out than to search for this poor lost dog? And it was in Wellesley, and I live in Framingham, Massachusetts, and was able to go and help hang flyers and help look for this dog. And sadly, Abby did not make it, and she ended up getting hit by the commuter rail train. That was devastating to me, to Abby's owner, and to everyone that helped out. And ever since then, I've been extremely passionate about trying to help find these lost dogs, to prevent tragic endings like what happened with Abby. That really always stuck with me, and I've never forgotten it. And I'm also even more passionate about Greyhound safety and preventing dogs from getting lost. I'm a bit of a safety nut, and sometimes people think I'm a little over the top, but I just feel like you can never be too careful with these dogs. So that's what has really brought me to the involvement that I have with Greyhound Amber Alert, is just my passion for safety and helping to find these dogs and help find them safe. Oh, I'm having a little trouble with my scrolling through here. Just
Jen, try the space bar or the right arrow. See if one of those works.
Yeah, I'm doing both, and it's not going. Sorry, guys. Sarah's here for me because I'm not super Zoom savvy. I haven't had trouble before.
Try escaping out of your full screen and just restarting. Sometimes it seems to get a little stuck.
Sorry about this, guys. And I was on a roll.
No worries. It's happened to everybody. Oh, there we go. I'm seeing the next slide.
I'm not sure what I did, but okay. Well, we'll try it, and I apologize. If anyone's seen my live presentation, I always have tech trouble, so this is not new. But just to get started, I think that we are all Greyhound lovers or Greyhound owners, and we know that they are the fastest dogs in the world. So it's another reason that it's so important to keep them safe, because they're not like your typical breed, like a lab or a golden retriever, or dogs that sort of hang around your yard and your neighborhood with the kids and they can just find their way home. Our dogs can take off and go very far in a very short period of time. And they also don't necessarily know their way home or know their neighborhood. They're not the most street savvy dogs, and they will chase just about anything. So in order to prevent this from happening, we're going to mostly talk today about how to keep your Greyhound safe. There's a lot of important things we can all learn. Some of them are things some of you already know and are doing, and some might be new to you. I do feel like this information is important whether you have just adopted your first Greyhound or thinking about it, or if you're on your 20th Greyhound. It's always important just to remain vigilant, and we can all learn from each other. Then we will talk a little bit about what to do if, God forbid, your dog did get lost. There are some important first steps that you can take that are really important to minimize that time that they're gone for. Those first moments, hours, days are very, very important. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but most of today we're going to focus on how to keep your Greyhound safe. Just a quick history of the actual group, Greyhound Amber Alert. I can talk a lot, so we're going to just go through this really quick so that we can stay on time today, because I appreciate everyone's time on a nice Sunday afternoon. I started with a group called Greyhound Adventures. I was vice president of that group for 12 years. Some of you today who are attending were members. We were a social networking group, and we mostly did social walks and events, but we also assisted owners who have lost their Greyhounds. And we had over 300 members that we were able to get the word out right away if we heard about a lost dog in Massachusetts or throughout New England. We were able to notify all the New England area adoption groups right away. And we had a core group of dedicated volunteers that were were there in an instant to offer help and support within hours. So that's really where I got my start in searching for dogs, and we accumulated a lot of great resources that I did forget to mention. There will be resources made available to you at the end. I have a list of a lot of the information I'll be talking about today. You'll be getting an email from Greyhound Options with those resources and information. I'm happy to share afterwards as well. The official Greyhound Amber Alert Forum started on the old greytalk.com that some of you might remember. Greytalk is still around. It's not as widely used anymore because it was around before social media. It was the Greyhound Amber Alert portion was started in 2004 by a good friend of mine, Michael McCann, and he is pretty much known in the Greyhound world as the Lost Greyhound Guru. I learned most of my knowledge from him. So he started that and continues to monitor it. Like I said, it's not used so much anymore, but it is still available if anyone wanted to join greytalk.com. Then when social media became more popular than traditional chat forums, Michael also started the Greyhound Amber Alert group on Facebook. That was in 2011. We used it side by side and everything was posted in both forums, but definitely Facebook is the more popular and more widely used. It's still where we house our Greyhound Amber Alert group today. And we find it's the fastest way to share the information. We're able to share hundreds of lost greyhounds and other sighthounds over the years. It's not 100% ideal because we know that not everybody is on Facebook. And we also know Facebook has some rules and glitches that are hard to get around, but based on the time sensitivity of sharing lost dog information, we still find Facebook to be the best resource. So if anyone hasn't joined yet, you're welcome to join the Greyhound Amber Alert group. We encourage everyone to do so. And I'm not able to change my screen again. I don't know why. Sorry about that, you guys.
I've had that happen as well, Jen. I'm not sure why. Do you want me to try sharing and then you can just let me know when to go to the next slide?
Sure. It's sort of like it's on just a major delay of some sort.
Yeah.
So I don't want to waste time. So do you want to open it for me?
Yes. Can you stop sharing?
Yeah, let me.
I can stop. Oh,
now it's moving again.
I guess it heard us talking. Okay.
I'm not sure if I should. I'll keep going. If it happens again, we'll switch out.
Okay, let me know.
Okay. So real quick, some of our success stories, because I started with such a tragic story about Abby. I did want to share some wonderful reunions we've had over the years of greyhounds that we have found successfully. And some of them, many of you know these dogs, and it just gives hope that they can be found, they can be very resilient. And I would say many more of the greyhounds that are reported lost are found successfully than not. So we first have Wonder, who is the black dog with the purple collar. She belonged to Kelly Schwartz, who is also a Greyhound Options board member. And that's how I first met Kelly. She's a good friend of mine. And we heard about Wonder being missing when I was with Greyhound Adventures. And a whole bunch of us just showed up on Kelly's doorstep to help and post flyers and get her going. And within 3 days, Wonder was found safely close to home. So that was the beginning of a wonderful friendship. And Wonder did just fine and lived to be 16 years old. Below Wonder, we have Bailey, the fawn boy with the black mask. Bailey was sort of a famous guy too, and he was lost here in Massachusetts for a week. He was hanging out behind restaurants and living out of dumpsters, and was finally captured by Michael McCann and adopted by another Greyhound Options adopter, Natty and George. And Bailey lived a long, wonderful, healthy life after his escapade. Cavan is not pictured. She's a brindle girl who belonged to Michael, she's a real great success story for resilience. She survived for 7 months in the winter in Vermont, out on her own. She was eventually captured and also lived a nice long life. But people who think if their dog goes missing in bad weather or they don't have anything to eat, she survived a Vermont winter on her own and did just fine. So she's a real inspiration story to never give up. And speaking of inspiration, Rita is the brindle dog with the white background on the right-hand side. Rita is also famous. She was loose in Florida. I don't want to say lost. She was loose and unable to be captured in Florida for 2 years. She was a super, super shy dog, very elusive, and a wonderful woman named Nan Dolling, who happens to be her 85th birthday, or maybe it was yesterday. That was Rita's guardian angel. Nan drove 20 miles every day to feed Rita until she was eventually captured and came up here to live a very nice life after being on her own for 2 years, which was pretty spectacular. And we owe a lot to Nan for her. And then Miles, many of you know Miles. He was a Go foster who is now adopted and living the good life, I think, in Florida. But he was a super shy, spooky dog. And we thought we would never catch him just because of his nature. And lucky for Miles, he got himself stuck in a fence. And the people whose yard he got stuck in knew about Miles because of the flyering effort and the spreading the word that we did in that town. And Matt from Greyhound Options was able to go and rescue Miles from that fence. So I just wanted to share those stories to give people hope that there are many more happy stories than sad ones, but it are the sad ones that really make you want to keep your dog safe, because there have been some devastating losses in our community. And there's also been some that even more devastating, I feel. There are some stories of dogs that we've never found, dead or alive. And that's really heartbreaking when you put so much into it and you have no idea what happened to the dog. So those are really, really devastating. So that's sort of our motivation to keep going here. So I'm going to go right into important ways to prevent your dog from getting lost and all of the safety tools that I use and that we try to use to encourage people to keep their dogs safe. So I encourage anyone to think about and sort of guess in your mind what the number one way is that greyhounds get loose. We have compiled information through polls and all of our forums, and there is one way that is the most popular, and that is out an open gate. A lot of us are lucky enough to have a fenced-in yard. However, gate safety is super important, and that is the most popular way that our dogs go missing. So you always want to lock your gates. You always want to check your gates before you let your dogs out. You want to double check them after a storm. We will go through these fairly quickly because I will go into a little more detail after about each one. And that's Clancy in the snow. That's Carla's dog. He's another Go alumni. So number one is out an open gate. The number two most popular way is out a door. That could be out a front door, out a garage door. These guys tend to see doors almost like a starting gate at the track. And once that door's open, they're off. So door safety is very important. The next way is a slipped collar. As we know, greyhounds have those skinny little heads, and if a collar's not fitted properly, they can slip out of it, especially if they're spooked by something and back up. Number 4 is getting in and out of the car. This is super important, especially if you're traveling, if you're on the road on a busy highway, at the vet. You have to use extreme caution getting your dogs out of the car. Next is a dropped leash. I am sure, I can almost guarantee that every one of us has dropped a leash at some point, myself included. That's a very easy and honest mistake, and that can happen. I will share a couple tips as far as how to keep your leash attached to you. Next is a broken fence. A lot of times our fences, especially after these New England winters, need repair. After storms, dogs have slipped through some pretty small areas in your fenced-in yard. Next is over a fence. We do have some jumpers. Usually a 6-foot fence is okay for our greyhounds, but there are jumpers. So we will talk a little bit about that. And last, we have compiled some others that didn't fit into the other categories, such as failed hardware, which means your leash broke or your collar broke. Also slipping a harness. A lot of people think harnesses are escape proof. They are not. So they can definitely still slip a harness, especially if they are a spooky dog or under a fence. We do have some diggers. And speaking of spooky dogs, I did forget to mention at the beginning, unfortunately, the majority, not the majority, but several lost dog posts we receive are shy, spooky dogs, unfortunately, and also newly adopted dogs. And that makes the challenge of finding these guys even more difficult and makes safety even more important. So I'm going to provide you all with a Greyhound safety toolkit today. Some of these things are real simple. Some of these things we're already doing, but I just wanted to share some ideas that we use to keep these guys safe that everyone can implement right away. And again, I apologize for rambling and the computer trouble. I'm going to go through these bullet points real quick, and we can feel free to talk about them in depth later if you wanted to join my breakout room. So a few things you can do for your gates, because the gates are the first way that they get loose. Definitely put a sign on your gate. A lot of fun Greyhound signs from the vendors out there. If you can, if you're building a new gate, put the latch on the inside of your gate. My latch is on the inside, and no one can get in my yard unless I open it from the inside, such as my lawn guy or any neighbors coming over. I have control of that, and they don't. I also keep it locked from the inside. If they wanted to climb over my 6-foot fence, they could get in, but I have to let them in through the gate. If you're building a new gate, you could add a spring-loaded gate closure. So if someone did leave your gate open, like the lawn guy or the meter guy, it will close and latch on its own. You can use a carabiner to lock your latch. I have a carabiner here. These are one of my favorite little devices, and we'll talk about them a lot today. Probably $1 from Home Depot. This is all I use to lock my gate right now, and that way a dog can't open it with their nose, and someone from the outside can't pull to open my gate. And even better would be if you could padlock your gate with a code or a key. Keep your gate like Fort Knox for your Greyhounds. As far as fences go, you definitely want to go as high as you can. They can be jumpers, like I said. Best practice is a 6-foot flat fence, but we do know of a lot of Greyhounds that live just fine with a 4-foot or a 5-foot chain link fence. Just be aware, if you do not know your dog yet, you do not know how high they can jump, that some dogs can jump a 4-foot fence, and then some can also climb or scale a chain link fence if they were really panicked or really wanted something on the other side of that fence. You do want to check for damages. Like I said, after a storm, always go around. I push on all the poles and all the panels after a big storm. And speaking of storms, snowbanks, you don't want to create a 3-foot snowbank against your 5-foot fence, because then all of a sudden your dog could walk up and jump over. During the snowstorms of 2015, there were pictures of dogs on their own roofs of their house because they were able to climb up snowbanks. So if you're shoveling a path for your dog, shovel it away from the fence. Always check before letting your dogs out. Make this a habit. If you can't see your gate from your door when you go to let them out, step out and check it every single time. It's just a great habit to get into. If it's nighttime, have lights on your gate or a flashlight. There's no worse feeling than letting your dog out and then noticing after that the gate was open. So it's just a really, really important habit, just to always check that gate and then let your dog out after. Onto door safety, just a few quick things. If you're lucky enough to have something like a mudroom or a porch with double entryway, that's perfect. That way you can keep your dog safely inside while you go outside and greet someone. If you don't, like my own front door comes right into my home. So I have an X-pen around my front door. It's just an X-pen stretched out to make a little area where my dog can stay behind that X-pen, or a baby gate if you have it. So that way, if I'm going out to answer the door, get my mail, or bring in groceries, I have a little area inside that X-pen that my dog can't get into while the door is opening and closing. It's real easy and real quick way to just set that up, to just have a little barrier in between your dog and the outside. And if you have garages, another best practice habit is to close your garage door all the way before you open the interior door. This is super important for all members of the household. Whenever I go to my parents' house with my dogs, I don't have garages, I don't have to worry about it, but my parents have garage and they leave it open all day when they're working on the yard, and I always have to, drill it into my dad: close the garage door, close the garage door. You don't want to let the dog out. So that's another best practice that everyone in the household can take advantage of. I'm having my problem again, Sarah. I don't know why I'm
What do you know? Do you want me to switch over to share?
Let me see if I can.
Seems like as soon as I say that, it tends to.
Then it
There we
goes.
go. I'll just keep asking
Just
you
keep
every
talking.
time.
Just keep talking to me. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
No, no worries. Don't worry
I also
about
have
it.
a very old computer. That's what I'll blame it on.
There we go.
So, okay, this is a lot of information right here, but this is where I'm going to bring out a few things to show you guys as far as collars, leashes, harnesses. With martingale collars, you definitely want to make sure they're properly fitted. And this is also something really important for anyone out here who's an adoption rep or foster, explaining to new and veteran adopters how to properly fit your martingale collar on a dog. So a lot of people have never used one before, and a lot of people don't know. And their collars, they might go home with a collar too loose on their new dog and their new shy dog, and they can slip right out of it. Normally I have a live model to show you, but I don't think Theo would sit still long enough. So I will be able to show you at the end after with another model that I created. But and also in the breakout room, I can also try to get my dog over to show everyone. But properly fitted martingale collars are super, super important, and not all of us know how to do that. So it's important to share. Also, you always want to check for signs of wear and tear, the hardware, the stitching. And this is one quick thing that is not related to your dog getting lost, but it is related to safety. And it's also a big pet peeve of mine. You never want to attach tags to the D-ring of your collar, which is this ring right here where the leash is attached. You always want to attach your tags to the side hardware. I hope you can all see, which is right, just gonna try to latch that on there. This is the side hardware where you would not be attaching a leash, because the D-ring is part of what's called, it's technically a choke collar. This is the part that tightens on the leash. So if your tags are hanging from the D-ring and your dog gets caught on something, it becomes a choking hazard. So it's another thing to always tell new and veteran adopters, always put your tags on the side hardware of a martingale collar. So I just wanted to point that out real quick. Tag collars, keeping tag collars on at all times is really important. I know a lot of us want our dogs to go naked in the house, but it's really important, especially with that door safety. If you don't have a barrier door, it gives you something to sort of grab onto. If your dog is about to bolt out, if they're always wearing their tag collar, you can grab onto it. You don't want it to be super loose, so that they can slip out of it. You don't want it too tight either, so that they can be comfortable wearing it 24/7. And speaking of which, you always want to have ID on them, because I can't tell you how many times a lost dog is found with no ID on them whatsoever. And they could, if they had their ID on, they could be just one phone call away from home. And so often they have no ID on. And I will show you some forms of jingle-free IDs as well, so you don't have to listen to jingling tags if that's something that you don't want to hear at night. Harness safety, again, like the martingale collars, they can slip out of harnesses, and you definitely want to make sure that they are tight enough. They make harnesses, some of us use them, that are martingale style, that also tighten like a martingale collar. You all want to make sure they fit well. And I do like the martingale style, because if your dog does pull, it tightens around their body, so similar to the collar tightening around their neck. And even better is what's called a spook harness. Spook harness, and I'll show you a picture in a little bit, has a third strap around the dog's waist. These are really important for very shy dogs, newly adopted dogs that you're not sure if they are flight risk. A lot of the galgos coming over from Spain who are very, very shy come home with a spook harness. I'll give you some resources on where to find those as well. Leashes, you always want to check your hardware. You want to add that carabiner I mentioned. I have one of these for every leash that I have, in every color to match. Super important to have a backup. This is a traditional leash that we probably all use with this type of clip that goes like this. These can break, these can get caught on something. My dog hears the leash, he thinks he's going for a WALK, but we're not going, Theo. This carabiner, adding that on gives you, hi Theo, say hello to everybody. This gives you added peace of mind should your leash fail. The carabiner just clips right on. And I'll just show you real quick onto here. There's your leash and there's your carabiner as a backup. I can show that again at the end if anyone wants a demonstration. We have a story of someone that many of us know, I won't say any names, that they were walking their dog in Manhattan and the leash came unhooked and their dog was just walking a block ahead of them down the streets of Manhattan with and the owner was just holding the leash because the leash broke. Got the dog back a few blocks later, but if they had that extra cheap little carabiner on there, that might have just prevented that from happening. So I'm a big proponent of that, especially also with that type of clip. When you're putting on coats and snoods, this type of clip gets caught very easily. So if you're going over the head while your dog is leashed, the snood could just catch that. And when you take the coat off, the leash comes off with it. I do, as far as other types of leashes, I do prefer this type of a clasp, which is like a claw. Some leashes are coming with this now. I like that. And you can use a smaller carabiner with the claw type leash. I hope you can all see that. And I can give you some resources on where to buy those as well. So walking safety, because all of this with the carabiners and the leashes and the collars, happens when you're taking your dog for a walk, you want to keep your leash securely around your wrist at all times. The pictures I have here show a slip knot, which I'll demonstrate real quickly with. This is for a traditional type leash, and you put it around your wrist and pull through the extra part of the leash. And now your leash is slip knotted tight around your wrist. This is a little controversial because it can cause damage if your dog weighs more than you and chases a squirrel and pulls you down. This can cause damage, but I always have said I'd rather keep my dog and get injured than have my dog take off on me. So that is one way. If you're not comfortable doing that, pictured below is a leash with an adjustable handle like I have here. That way you can make it smaller to fit around your wrist, and it won't slip off as easily, excuse me, as a traditional leash. That's just a couple of things. And always before you open your front door, make sure that leash is securely wrapped around your wrist a couple times. Don't open the door and then do it. It's sort of common sense, but another habit to get into is just always having that around your wrist before letting your dog out. Some people use a double leash. If you're using a harness and a collar, some people use 2 leashes, especially for newly adopted dogs. Again, one on the collar, one on the harness. That way, if the dog slips out of one, you still have them attached by the other. Or what I use is a coupler. A coupler is an attachment that you could walk 2 dogs at once. I attach my dogs, Martingale, to the harness with the same idea that if they slip out of their collar, they're still attached to their harness. If they slip out of their harness, they're still attached to the collar. Those are some easy ways. And again, the carabiner on every leash clip, and keeping your ID on all the time is super important. So here's a few pictures just to demonstrate what I talked about. This is Majestic. Majestic belongs to one of the other members of the Greyhound Amber Alert moderating team, Barbara. And he is a super, super shy galgo from Spain. So Barbara has Majestic here dressed like Fort Knox, which is wonderful. We love seeing this because he's not going to be escaping her. Just top to bottom, he's wearing a blue martingale collar with a leash, with a carabiner. Then he's wearing a black tag collar with tags for identification and a GPS system, which we'll talk about briefly. Then he's wearing the spook harness. The black spook harness has 3 points of contact around his upper shoulder, around his chest, and then again around his waist, and with a second leash with a carabiner. So Majestic is super, super secure, and that's what we recommend when you're bringing your new dog out. The tag collar that's shown is an example of the flat tag. If these are things you can keep on your dog 24/7 so they won't jingle. And again, the picture of the standard leash with the carabiner. All real easy things to do, just to give you a little bit of added protection. And just a little blurb about car safety. If possible, you want to try to leash your dogs before you open the door. If you happen to have a seatbelt attachment, you can keep your dogs attached to the seatbelt before leashing them and before opening the door. If you have 2 people, that's really the easiest way, is where someone can stay in the car, hold on to the dog's leashes while the other person goes out and grabs them. And then you really want to use extreme caution if you have a hatchback or an SUV lifting that tailgate up. If possible, you do not want to lift it up all the way without having your hand on your dog's leash, because again, the way these guys see doors, it's like a starting gate at the track, lift up and go. So if you can open your hatchbacks just a tiny bit so you can reach in and grab the leash and then open, it's super important. Because especially when you're with your dogs, you're usually not in your home, and you would never want to lose your dog far from home, it would be even more difficult to find them. And don't forget, a carabiner is your friend. Just a brief word about GPS collars, because that's sort of a new thing, and I can definitely talk more in depth about it later if anyone wants to chat about it. GPS collars are great, so are microchips and tattoos, but I just want to reiterate that GPS collars are completely different than microchips. Microchips do not help you find your lost dog. And tattoos, they can only help identify your dog and identify you as the owner after your dog has been found. So I do think microchips are great, and all my dogs are microchipped and tattooed. Most of our retired racers are, but just keep in mind, a lot of people say, oh, I don't need a GPS collar, my dog's microchipped, or my dog wears, his tags, but they are great for identifying purposes and for legal claim of your dog, but they don't help you find your dog. And also, someone who finds your dog still would have to bring them to a shelter or a vet to have them scanned. So I'm not going to go into detail about GPS collars. There's a lot of research online. I will let you know that the most popular brands right now seem to be the Fi or Fi, F-I, and the Whistle. Those are the two most popular and have gotten the best reviews. All of the GPS collars, I use myself, I use the Link, and I've been pretty happy with it. They all use an app on your phone, which you can track your dog should they go missing, and it's mostly live time, but you do have to keep in mind it's based off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi technology, so it's only as good as your service. But we can definitely talk more about that if anyone wants any recommendations later about using those. So because I can talk so much, it's already 12:40. So that's majority of my safety talk. I do want to briefly just talk about some really important first steps of what to do if, God forbid, after all your safety things you've done and you've been so careful, we all know this can happen to anyone, and it has probably happened to many of us. Once you've gone beyond your dog getting loose, maybe your dog has gotten loose and you've been able to catch him 2 doors down. That's wonderful. But this is for instances now when your dog is now lost and you don't know where they've gone. They're not just out of your yard, they're actually out of your sight. There are some really important first steps. And a lot of my presentations I've done in the past focus just on this, and there's a lot more to talk about as far as trapping dogs as well, but we won't have time for that today, and we hope to maybe do a presentation on that in the future. Right now, this is just a little bit on to get you started. So what do you do if your dog goes missing? Your first instinct is going to be to chase your dog. Go after your dog, call your dog, run as fast as you can and grab your dog. And unfortunately, that's not the best thing to do, but that's our instinct. That's it's ingrained in us. That's our baby. And I am going to go and find my baby, and I'm going to go and do it on my own and call his name, and he's going to come running back to me. And unfortunately, that doesn't usually work. I would say the majority of lost dogs we have found, it has not been the owner that has found their dog or even seen their dog. So the first thing you need to do, which is probably the hardest thing to do, is to change your mindset. Your mindset is, I'm going to find my dog and I am going to walk the streets day and night until I find him. You want to change that mindset, and you want to get help, and you want to spread the word, and you want to realize that your 2 eyes might not necessarily be the ones to see your dog, but there are hundreds and thousands of more pairs of eyes out there that can help you and that will help you and that may have seen your dog. So that is the hardest thing to do. And a lot of times as an owner, obviously you're completely distraught, you're exhausted. You will do anything to get your dog back, obviously. And this is where volunteers can help, and they can help the distraught owner to sort of change their mindset and help spread the word and recruit help, which these are the 3 most important things. Spreading the word both by flyers and by a few other ways we'll talk about, has been the number one way that dogs have been found. Someone else saw a flyer and called the owner. It's never, I don't want to say it's never the owner, but it's rarely the owner or even the volunteers sometimes that find the dog. So don't just go out, boots on the ground, spread the word as much as you can and recruit help, which is why it's so great to have your groups like this where you can get the word out very quickly, which is why we started the Greyhound Amber Alert group to begin with, because you can share those posts very quickly. A quote that I love to share from Michael McCann is in regards to this mindset is, someone out there has seen your dog. Now you just need to find that person. So in essence, you're not only looking for your dog, you're looking for the people that have seen your dog. So that's the sort of mindset you want to be in when you are starting a search for a lost dog, or any dog, but especially for a Greyhound. So the first important steps, you want to call after you've called your best friends and your neighbors and everyone you know, contact your adoption group. There's such a great resource, whether it's Greyhound Options or another group. Contact them right away. They have the resources in place to get the word out right away. They have email, they have other things and other ways to reach people while you are searching for your dog. A lot of people are, quite frankly, afraid or embarrassed to contact their adoption group when they lose their dog. We don't want to encourage that. We want to encourage that you can contact them anytime, because they are there to help you. And the Greyhound Amber Alert volunteers are there to help you. So don't be afraid to make that first call to get things rolling. And that will take a lot off your plate while you are looking for your dog. Then you do want to call your local animal control or police. If you don't have an animal control officer, they're usually one and the same. And you want to file a report with them. You want to check in with them frequently. Usually animal control is a small part-time role. You might have to leave a message, but keep calling, keep checking in, file a formal report with them. Also, being that most people, when they find a dog, if there is no ID and they don't know who to call, they will call animal control. So you want to file a report with them as soon as possible. Then you want to join our group and Greyhound Amber Alert, post right away, have someone make the post for you. That way it gets out there very quickly and it can be spread very quickly and shared with other people in your area and other types of social media. Other social media can be the other types we know, like Instagram, but even Nextdoor is a popular forum that's out there now. Local community Facebook groups for your city or town, just getting the word out there. And once that post is on Greyhound Amber Alert, you can be sharing it to all these different places really easily. And the next step is flyers. You want to make hundreds and hundreds of flyers. When we start a formal search, we start with 1,000 flyers. We don't make 10 and post them on one street. We start with 500 flyers to post, which I'll show you in just a second, on telephone poles. And we start with 500 to 1,000 handout flyers to hand out to people. In regards to that, I just want to encourage, let me just, I'm sorry, I will talk about flyers in just a second, but as far as the flyers, this is a big, can be a big time waster. If flyers aren't made immediately and starting to be put up immediately, you're losing precious time with your dog going far. We know of some searches where flyers aren't even posted until the next day or two, and by that time your dog could be 5 to 10 miles away. So that's number one after contacting everyone is posting flyers. Then after that, once you get your flyers, you want to contact all of these places, your microchip company, and making sure your microchip has your most updated information. Your microchip company usually also sends an email blast. Every veterinary office within a 5 to 10 mile radius, any shelters or humane societies, because some towns don't have animal control, like I said. All of your delivery drivers, you can fax flyers to Amazon, the post office, school bus drivers, their eyes out on the road, and your Department of Public Works and your railroad authority. Unfortunately, again, I have to bring up some of the sad stories, but these are the agencies that will find deceased dogs that have been hit by a car or by a train. So you definitely need to notify them. So you want to coordinate your search effort. The one thing we also encourage on Facebook, in addition to posting on ours, Facebook can get funky, as you know, with 1 million people posting and sharing all over the place. If you create your dog's own Facebook group, that will keep all the information in one place. So Theo, the Lost Greyhound, that's the name of my new Facebook group, and it's all about the search for my dog. We do recommend that. And also not posting any sightings of the dog publicly, and remembering that Facebook is a public search, that a public share that people from all over the place can see. If you're posting sightings, you might get well-intentioned people chasing your dog and scaring it out of the area, which you don't want. So you want to keep that information to just the small group of people that are coordinating the search. And then you want to maintain an easily accessible bin. We used to have bins of all our supplies that we could easily mobilize to the owner's home: flyers, staple guns, tape, maps, anything that volunteers would need. Keep it out on your front porch in a waterproof bin so that volunteers can come and go and get supplies they need anytime. Flyers, flyers, flyers. I do want to talk really quick about flyers. I know we're getting short on time here. The reason that we do so much with flyers is because we have to remember that not everyone is on social media. Not everyone is on their phone constantly, or hears about things, or sees an email about a lost dog. These flyers are what gets dogs home. These are what everyone in your neighborhood is going to see. And these are the ones we start with 500, brightly neon, yellow or pink. We use these on telephone poles, and I'm sorry, I'm missing my other example of a flyer. Oh, I wish I had it, because this one, it's really good. This is an example of a flyer that a lot of people use to post on a telephone pole. And I don't think anyone can read that. And I don't think anyone can even know that that's a lost dog on there. And it's nice that there's a picture and there's just description all about the dog. But if you're driving by in your car and the telephone pole and you see this, you'll think maybe it's a yard sale. But if you see this, and you see 500 of these around your town, and you happen to see that dog in your backyard, you're going to go, Lost Greyhound. I think this is the Lost Greyhound. I'm going to go call the owner. Their number's right there, and it's huge. And I know of this lost dog. These are the attention grabbers. This is what we focus on when we're doing our searches. So this is just a template of it in white, but again, you want to print it on neon paper. I have access to the templates that I'll share with you afterwards, but real basic. Do not chase. Here are my numbers. Your numbers need to be accessible at all times, of course. Then we have what we call the handout flyer. This is Miles that I talked about earlier. Miles, who is now safe. And these handout flyers are where you can put a photo of the dog in a little more detail. We print 500 of these and then cut them in half, hand them out in parking lots, schools, churches. You can tuck them under windshield wipers in parking lots. You cannot put them in mailboxes. It is illegal to put flyers, in US mailboxes, but you can roll them up and tuck them in the sleeve of the flag on the mailbox. You can roll them up and tuck them in people's door handles. But these are great for a little bit more information on the dog so that people physically can see that and have it in hand. Also, when COVID started and people didn't want to take flyers from us, we would just hold it out and 6 feet away and say, take a picture of this flyer and please keep it on your phone. So I could talk forever about flyers and searches, and if anyone wants to talk more about it, that would be something I'd love to talk about. But my best words of advice also for searching, besides spreading the word and spreading those flyers, is to never give up. It's very easy to give up, especially after a day or 3 days or a week of no sightings of your dog. It can be really, really discouraging. We have had instances where there were no sightings of a dog for 3 weeks. And of course, the owners feeling like their dog is gone, their dog was stolen, their dog is dead. And then all of a sudden their dog pops up somewhere completely different than where you were searching for them. And all of a sudden sightings start coming in, and they are very, very resilient, more resilient than you would expect. And like I said, more times than not, we do capture them safely. It could be that you're searching in the wrong place. It could be that you had a big rainstorm and your flyers are falling down. Keep putting up those flyers, make new ones that say still missing, and get the public re-engaged. Keep calling the shelters, keep calling the vets' offices, keep faxing them flyers and saying this dog is still missing. People have a very short attention span. So even if a month has gone by and there's no sightings, expand your search and just never, ever give up, because your dog is out there somewhere. So I just want to reiterate that. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for keeping all our beloved Greyhounds safe. This is on the right, the little brindle girl is my raspberry. And she passed recently, but she's my princess that is my inspiration. And next to her is her friend Tasha, who has also since passed, but they were really good friends. And then with them, the white dog is Caleb, a Go alumni who is still with us and living a happy life. So pictures like that of our happy dogs on the beach are really what motivates me and what makes me so happy to be able to share this information with you. And I hope everyone learned a little something, and I hope that we can all continue to learn from each other. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jen. This is really great and provided so much helpful information. We're going to transition to the breakout groups in just a minute, but can I just ask one quick question that might be helpful? Is there something that you do to protect the flyers when you're putting them out?
Yes, I forgot. And I took it off because of the glare. But we do, this is another one I have here. We do put them in a plastic sleeve. I forgot, I took it off because of it's shiny, but we put them all in plastic sleeves with the opening on the bottom so that rain can't get in, and we staple it in four corners plus 6 or 8 more staples to keep them more secure during the surge and during the bad weather. That's a great question.
Yep, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so we are now going to transition to the greet portion of the event. Before we do that, I do want to, make sure that, Jen, you understand how helpful this has been to all of us. Thank you so much for doing this.